The planet Zythera burned under a violet sun. Its jagged mountains cut sharp lines across the sky, and its rivers ran thick and red, poisoned from centuries of war. The galaxy's greatest powers claimed this world as a staging ground, where conquest and cruelty were celebrated as strength. And in the middle of it all, humans were nothing more than shadows, weak, fragile, and disposable. KL trudged across the rocky terrain, his boots sinking slightly in the dust. He had been sent on a scouting mission, one of those unimportant tasks the alien overlords liked to assign humans. They expected him to fail, maybe even die. Kale had grown used to that kind of thinking. Every day of his life, someone had counted him out. Another human, a passing alien officer, had sneered that morning. Sent to die for nothing. How amusing. Kale did not reply. Words rarely mattered when survival was at stake. Instead, he checked the simple blade strapped to his back. It was human-made, or so the aliens thought. To them, it was nothing more than a thin piece of metal. But Kale had long suspected it was more. Its edge seemed sharper than any forge could make. And in the moments of quiet before battle, he could feel a faint hum under his hand, as though the sword itself waited for a reason to awaken. His thoughts were interrupted by a rumble overhead. A massive warship descended from the sky, black and gleaming. The engines burned blue flames that scorched the rocks beneath. And standing at the doorway of the ship was Zyra, the alien commander everyone feared. Her body towered over most humans, her forearms gleaming with golden armor. Her eyes, black and endless, locked onto Kale, with a mixture of contempt and curiosity. "So, this is the weakling?" she hissed, her voice echoing through the canyon. Kale straightened. He had expected her, and he had expected the insult. Humans had learned to endure that. "I don't intend to fight," he said calmly. "I just want to survive." Zyra laughed, a sound like cracking stone. "You will not survive, little human. I will crush you, and everyone will see how pitiful your species truly is." Kale's hand brushed the hilt of his blade. He had no illusions about the fight ahead. Zyra was strong, fast, and ruthless. But humans had something the aliens often overlooked: patience, ingenuity, and a stubborn refusal to give up. The first clash came without warning. Zyra's four arms moved as one, swinging massive blades toward Kale. He ducked low, rolling over the rough rocks, feeling the wind whip past his face as each strike narrowly missed him. The ground shook under her blows, and dust clouds filled the canyon. Kale's mind raced. He could not match Zyra in strength, and he knew it. But he could use the environment, the shadows, the rocks. He leapt behind a jagged outcrop as Zyra swung again, letting the momentum of her own strikes carry her past him. She growled, frustrated, and turned with lightning speed. "You cannot hide forever, human," she shouted. Kale gritted his teeth. "I don't need to hide," he whispered to himself. "I just need one chance." That chance came when Zyra lunged for him, her blade slicing the air where he had stood moments before. Kale rolled forward, placing a hand on the ground. The vibration under his palm surprised him. A faint thrum coming from his sword. Without thinking, he drew it and swung in a wide arc, not to strike, but to deflect the force of Zyra's next blow. The sword shivered in his grip. Light flickered along its edge, as though it were waking. Zyra paused mid-attack, her eyes narrowing. "What is this?" she hissed. "A human weapon cannot." Kale did not wait. He darted toward her, using every trick he had learned from watching alien soldiers, from reading old battle manuals left behind by humans long before him. He ducked, rolled, and struck at weak points in her armor, hitting with precision rather than power. Each strike was a question, testing her defenses, probing for gaps. Zyra's attacks grew more cautious, She had faced thousands of enemies, and none had moved like this. Her confidence faltered, just slightly, but Kale noticed it. He pressed on, striking fast, retreating faster, never allowing her to predict his next move. The canyon echoed with the clash of metal and the roar of the alien commander. Yet, in the midst of the chaos, Kale felt something strange. The sword hummed stronger now, resonating with a faint warmth that spread up his arm. He had no idea what it was, only that it felt right, like the weapon was guiding him. Zyra's frustration turned into fury. She slammed the ground with one of her arms, creating a shockwave that sent Kale skidding back. He hit the rocks hard, gasping, but he was still alive. Zyra narrowed her eyes. "You are nothing but a weakling," she spat. "And yet, you survive. Why?" 7, 10. Kale's lips curved into a small smile. "Because I never stop," he said simply. Zyra's forearms moved in a blur, a storm of steel aimed to end the fight. Kale leapt over one, rolled under another, and ducked beneath the last two. The sword in his hand glowed brighter, reflecting the violet sunlight. He didn't fully understand it, but he trusted it. Trusting himself was all he had. Then came a moment of opportunity. Zyra's left arm had overextended in her fury. Kale struck not hard, not enough to wound seriously, but at the joint, forcing her to stumble backward. Zyra's eyes widened in shock. No human had ever touched her. Kale used the moment to retreat, racing across the rocks, leading her away from the canyon into the wider plains. The landscape shifted, sand and jagged stones, creating obstacles he could use. Zyra followed, still angry, still confident. But Kale noticed something new in her. Caution. By the time the sun dipped low in the violet sky, Kale had led her on a chase across the plains. He was exhausted, every muscle screaming. But he was alive. And more than alive, he had survived an encounter that was supposed to kill him instantly. Zyra hovered on a ridge above him, breathing heavily, her blades still sharp and ready. Her pride had been wounded. No human had ever fought back like this. You are different," she said, her voice low, almost a growl. Kale looked up at her, his blade catching the last light of the sun. "I am human," he said, "and you still haven't seen what we can do." Zyra's eyes narrowed. "Then I will finish this," she whispered. Kale didn't flinch. He knew this was only the beginning. This fight had shown him two things. 1. That the aliens underestimated humans at their peril. And 2. That his sword, whatever power it held, was waking. And if it was waking now, what could it do when he truly learned to master it? The wind howled across the plains, carrying the scent of red dust and ozone from distant lightning storms. Kale stood, his blade ready, his heart steady. Somewhere in the galaxy, the other aliens would be watching, waiting to see the weak human crushed. They would wait in vain. Because Kale was not just a human, he was the beginning of something else, something that no alien hierarchy had ever seen before. And for the first time, Kale allowed himself a small spark of hope. Jagged rocks jutted from the red sand like teeth, and the wind carried the bitter scent of ozone from distant storms. Kale stood on a ridge, his chest heaving, his sword glowing faintly in the dim light. Below, Zyra watched him, her forearms folded across her chest. For the first time, she hesitated. The humans had always been weak, fragile, predictable, but this one? Kale had survived her first attack with cleverness, with strategy, with something no alien had ever expected: resourcefulness. "You survived," she said, her voice carrying over the wind. "A weak human survives?" Kale did not answer. Words were not important here. Survival was. He could feel the faint hum from his sword again, stronger now, as though it sensed the danger ahead. It had awakened slightly during the first clash. But this time, it pulsed with something deeper, a power he had not yet understood. Zyra leapt from the ridge, landing with a heavy crash that shook the ground. The sound of her 4 blades cutting through the air was like thunder. Kael barely rolled out of the way, dust and small rocks flying around him. He knew he could not fight her head-on. If he did, he would die. Humans were not designed to withstand a full alien assault. But humans were designed to think. Kael darted between the jagged rocks, using the terrain to slow her down. Zyra's long strides allowed her to cover ground faster than he could. But she had to be careful now. Every strike he dodged, every movement he made, taught him her patterns. Her arms moved almost independently, swinging in unpredictable combinations. Yet her confidence made her predictable in ways Kael could exploit. As he moved, Kael noticed something. The hum in his sword seemed to respond to Zyra's attacks. When she swung her blades, the sword vibrated slightly, as though it were aware of danger before he was. He had no idea why, but instinct told him to trust it. The first real opportunity came when Zyra miscalculated. She had overextended her left arm in a furious strike, leaving her side exposed. Kael leapt from behind a rock, swinging his sword in a wide arc. The blade met her armor with a metallic clang, not enough to pierce it, but enough to make her stumble. Zyra's eyes narrowed. "Impossible! A human touches me?" she hissed. Kael's breath came in quick bursts. He did not speak. He could not afford words now. Instead, he circled her, using the environment, using his speed, and using the strange resonance from his sword. The more he moved, the more it seemed to hum, almost guiding him. Zyra's attacks grew sharper, faster, but Kael was ready. He rolled under one blade, ducked another, and deflected a third with the edge of his glowing sword. The 4th blade struck the ground instead, sending a shockwave through the red dust. Kael stumbled, but he recovered, leaping over a jagged boulder and landing behind her. For the first time, Zyra hesitated. Humans did not usually survive this long, much less fight back with strategy. "What are you?" she demanded, her voice almost a growl. Kael did not answer. His mind was too focused, calculating the next move. His sword pulsed stronger, the light along its edge growing brighter, as if feeding on his determination. He realized something now. This blade was not ordinary. It was responding to him, to his will, to his need to survive. The battle shifted from raw strength to cleverness. Kael led Zyra into a canyon where the rocks jutted sharply from the ground. He dodged a sweeping strike, ducked another, and then used the terrain to his advantage. He kicked loose a boulder, sending it rolling toward her. Zyra leapt over it, but the sudden distraction allowed Kael to strike at her side again, not to wound, but to test the blade's power. The sword shimmered and pulsed on impact. Zyra stumbled once more, her confidence faltering. Kael saw the surprise in her eyes. The weapon he held was something alien, something she had never seen before. "You human cannot," she gasped, trying to compose herself. Kael took the moment to retreat, moving away from the canyon into the open plains. His mind raced. He had survived the first clash, learned the rhythm of her attacks, and discovered the strange potential of his sword. But this was only the beginning. Zyra would not give up. She was too proud, too cunning, too deadly. As the stars began to appear in the violet sky, Kael found a hidden alcove beneath a jagged overhang. He crouched there, breathing hard, sweat running down his face. The sword hummed gently, comforting, almost as if it were alive. "What are you?" he whispered. The sword vibrated stronger, and for a moment, Kael felt a surge of energy pass through him. Not pain, not fear, but clarity. It was as though the weapon was telling him something. "You are more than they think. You are capable of more." Then they see. He closed his eyes and remembered the lessons of humanity. Humans had always survived where others had failed. They had endured, adapted, and overcome. Even when everything seemed lost, humans found a way. Zyra was not just a threat, she was a test, and Kale was determined not to fail. Hours passed. Zyra did not attack again, but her presence loomed. Kale could feel her watching, her curiosity mixed with anger. He did not relax. Instead, he focused on understanding the sword, experimenting with small movements, learning how the hum changed when he struck, when he blocked, when he moved. By midnight, he had discovered something remarkable. When he concentrated, when he allowed the sword to guide him, he could sense Zyra's position before she moved. The weapon's resonance was like a sixth sense, telling him where danger would come, giving him the edge he had never had before. Kael's heart pounded with hope. He was still human, still frail, still underestimated, but he had discovered the first hint of power that could level the playing field. Dawn approached, painting the plains in shades of red and gold. Zyra appeared again, landing gracefully, her forearms ready. She had not attacked overnight, not because she could not, but because she was assessing him. "You are clever," she said, her tone low, almost admiring. "For a human, I expected nothing. Yet, you survive." Kael did not reply. He readied his sword, feeling the hum stronger now, almost like it was alive in his hands. "I will survive," he said finally, "and I will fight. Not just to live, but to prove that humans are more than you think." Zyra's eyes narrowed. "Then come," she hissed. "Show me what your kind is capable of." The two circled each other in the dawn light. The plains silent, except for the wind. Kael's mind raced. Planning, predicting, adapting. He was outmatched in strength, but he had something Zyra did not. Ingenuity, patience, and a blade that was awakening. The first clash had ended, but the war had only just begun. Kael had survived, learned, and discovered the first spark of the weapon's hidden power. Zyra, furious but intrigued, realized this human was unlike any other she had faced. The galaxy would remember this day, though neither Kael nor Zyra knew it yet. One underestimated human had survived the impossible, and his journey to reshape the cosmic hierarchy had only just begun. Kael stared at the rising sun, feeling the hum of the sword pulsing stronger with each heartbeat. A new strength had awakened, and with it, a promise. Humans would no longer be counted out. The plains of Zythera awaited, and Kael was ready.